Welcome to episode 3 of the Dekkster and Dera podcast. I am joined by Dera. Say hello, Dera.
Hello, Dera. But all right, I shouldn't start with a bad joke. You know, we're back again for week 3. You guys didn't think it would happen? It happened.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. We got a lot to talk about today. I think mostly buff expectations. I think the game needs some changes. What do we think is going to happen? There's a patch coming up tomorrow, actually, at the time of us or this coming out.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. It's gonna be hopefully an interesting one, because they've said that this is gonna be the first round of buffs. They've also confirmed there will be a change to Shuri, and you know, they did say there's gonna be an announcement of something happening with Kitty, but you know, we can get into that. So
I think we should start with Shuri. I think a lot of people are maybe frustrated by the state of the current meta, and I feel like Shuri is kind of the main offender here. Do you not think she is?
I played a decent amount in the last couple days, and I have seen much less Shuri recently. Just like, it has not been as much of an issue, I'd say. It's been like still like the strongest deck, I think, but there does seem to be some stuff that now can be up there in power level. I'm seeing a lot more like Sarah stuff, Darkhawk stuff. I feel like that stuff is almost as popular as Shuri now. Like Sandman, super popular. So I do see Shuri still being offender, but not as much. And they did say something. So I saw a thing about a dev talking about Shuri, and it was basically Shuri is maybe not being as dominating as it was before. And do we still think that she's going to need another nerf? And basically, Glenn had said, hey, look, we put our patches in like well in advance. So even though Shuri did come down a bit, we're going to be still pushing out the planned Shuri nerf that we already talked about. And that means that it's coming. But from what he said we're happy with what we landed on for the nerf. So it makes it sound like it won't be nearly as big of a shakeup for Shuri as I think, because basically saying it sounds like it's just gonna be a small tweak. So something like, I don't know, there's definitely a couple of things that it could be. I've heard different people in the community do a couple different suggestions, like just make it so you have to play the card in the same lane as Shuri. Like I don't know, there's just like a lot of small things that it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about what we expected from Shuri last week, but yeah, this is interesting because they do have to put in how they want to change her beforehand, and then they have to wait 2 weeks or whatever. Hopefully, yeah, they didn't go too light on her, and hopefully they didn't go too hard on her as well. Hopefully they didn't give her leader treatment, and then she's just unplayable. But you know, just toning her down a little bit. This person is saying they're not seeing a lot of Shuri. I feel differently. I still see a good amount of Shuri myself.
Really?
Yeah. Are you just seeing more Sandman, Hitmonkey, Miracle sort of stuff?
Yeah, I see a lot of Hitmonkey, a lot of Sandman, a lot of Darkhawk like decks as well. I feel like that's like what is Untapped telling us right now?
Let's look at the untapped tier list. Shuri is still the best deck and the most popular deck. With our filters, which are 3,000 plus collection level, rank 70 to 99, Shuri has a popularity of 11.3%.
Yeah, so it does look like Darkhawk and Electro Ramp make up a pretty good percent as well, as like I had seen.
Yeah, Electro Ramp
not as high, but good.
Yeah, Doomwave at 2.9% popularity, Electro Ramp at a 10.1%. What are some other big ones? Thanos Death at a 6.1%.
Thanos Death is basically Doomwave with Thanos, though. Yeah, so it's like,
we got
that
Galactus.
Might be why Doomwave looks lower.
Yeah, that's true. Galactus here at 11.7% popularity.
I have been seeing a good amount of Galactus. I've actually been seeing more Hitmonkey than this tier list, I think, leads on.
Yeah, they're saying only a 2.6%. That's kind of interesting.
Oh, you know what I have been seeing that's on here? Patriot. I've been seeing so much Patriot, actually. I've seen a lot of people playing Leech Patriot. It just like, it is a new thing that's popping off.
Yeah. I don't put Leech in my Patriot decks, but
yeah, you're too honorable for that.
But there's a lot of Leech in Patriot, because you could just Leech and then you can play the big man himself, Ultron, and then win the game.
I will say, I think Leech is having its day right now. And by right now, I mean, like, it's had its day many times, but that was like, people were really complaining about it in like Thanos and whatever. But right now, I feel like people have found that you can put Leech in a lot of decks. Like, they're throwing in a Patriot, it's in Electro Ramp, it's in like, I don't know, like some Doom Wave decks. I don't know. It's in like just like some random, like people are just throwing, like someone won a tournament with that Patriot Leech list, and they had another random Leech in another deck that they brought. I don't even remember what the second list was, but it's just like, I remember Glenn speaking out about Leech and being like, it's not a problem. It was only in one deck and it was like, it felt bad. Sure, but we nerfed that deck. Leech will go away. I thought so too. Like, I was kind of on that same boat being like, yeah, Leech is not that strong, but it's like, it is still just a feel bad card. So
he somehow just always finds his way back into the meta. Would you change Leech at all if you could? I know a lot of people were complaining about him in the past, but there were some changes and he saw a little bit less play, but still kind of a feels bad card.
Yeah, I would definitely just like, there was a thing that they shared at GDC, the game whatever convention, game developer convention. They shared that during their development phase, they had like these old builds of the game, and they basically leaked one of the earlier versions of Leech that we never got to see. And it was basically the Leech that like everyone wanted it to be, like the nerf. It was basically, it only lasted for one turn. So it's like, maybe if they would just bring that back and just have it be like, well, one turn Leech. But I don't know if that would really affect like a Leech in this Patriot list, because you are only playing Leech on turn 5 and only affecting their turn 6 plays with the Patriot list. So it's like, it would still be the same as that card in that list. So
I didn't see that video. Was it the next turn? There's no abilities, or how did it work?
There wasn't a video. There was a screenshot of just like Leech, the card with different text. So it was just like, it was weirdly worded. I can't remember exactly, but the effect was basically like Leech's effect, but with like it's basically just like nuking it for one turn. It didn't say for only one. I can't remember the exact text.
Okay.
Maybe we should look that up. But
all right. So one thing we do have is these weekly buffs and nerfs that are coming out. These OTA, I think, over the air sort of patches where they can just implement them on a weekly basis, which is pretty nice. Most recently, we got buffs to Sentry and Shadow King, and those were really nice. I had a good time playing around with Sentry. Shadow King didn't perform as well as I had anticipated, but hopefully these upcoming weeks we'll get some nice changes. I'm looking at the stats here on snap.fan at the least played cards, and I really do hope Strong Guy gets addressed, as well as actually Leader. That'd be nice. And Drax and Orca, maybe those are some that we can start with. What were you looking forward to for buffs, Dera?
I'm hoping, we don't really know the number of cards they're going to buff yet. I'm hoping it's more than 2. They only buffed 2 cards, right? Like the last buff. And I'm hoping they end up doing more than 2, because I think that'll be a bigger, more fun shakeup. But, what if they just hit us with a Snowguard immediate buff? I doubt that would happen, but, I mean,
no one's playing Snowguard. Snowguard is so disappointing. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, but I think Crystal, it's been one of those cards that's been at the very bottom of like the played list for so long, and it's just like been just so bad. I've talked about it multiple times on stream. I think we talked about it on the podcast one time, just being a really bad card. I think, Crystal would be a good one. I think they could do so much with Crystal to make it a lot better. Like, you could make it like a 4/7. Like, you could make it like, I honestly just want them to bring back you could play it in any lane. I really don't think that the ability to tempo it out is worth it at all. Like, because you want to play it to shuffle your cards, like if you're putting in your deck. So, I
think Crystal cannot be solved by an OTA. I think she needs like a complete rework. I guess like something like a 4/7 would be good. But what if she was just like on reveal, draw 4 cards or something? I feel like that.
They could do that with the OTA, so they can change numbers like that. So
really?
If it says draw 3, they can do draw 4. Yeah.
Okay, well then I hope they address Crystal.
anything that requires numerical changes, I'm pretty sure they can change.
Okay, yeah, that'd be nice if she drew 4 or something. 4/4/4 makes sense. But yeah, putting her at like a 4/7 or something, in line with some other cards that are you know, for the 4 stat is normally like 7 to 9. I feel like 9 for the premium stat line. Yeah, Crystal being
10 for the
power.
ultra premium.
Yeah. Like strong guy. If you meet his condition, he's a 4/10. But it's so hard to meet that condition. And then you got stuff like Namor being a 4/11. So why can't strong guy be a 4/11?
Or a 3/3 that becomes a 3/9, you know? I'd be fine with that.
I think we talked about that last time. And then like Orca as well. Orca needs a little bit of a buff. So we'll keep begging for these to be buffed. Yeah. But what were you looking at besides Crystal maybe?
Yeah, so I like if we're doing like there's a difference between like what I want them to buff and what I think they'll buff, you know?
Yeah.
So like I don't think Crystal's gonna get touched this patch. Like from a like it doesn't seem like a card that they're interested in buffing anytime soon. Just because there's a lot of considerations with Crystal that make it like dangerous for the meta if it gets buffed too much. But I think something that is potentially get buffed are like move cards. I think there's a chance that move gets a like I wouldn't be surprised if like a dagger saw another buff, multiple man saw another buff. Yeah. Like something like that. That would be like kind of like they might touch one of those kind of cards. I can't see anything that's like series 4 or 5 getting a buff. That I can think of. Like I don't think Dazzler's gonna get buff. I don't think Shanna's gonna get a buff.
Yeah, I don't think they'll address those until they're like Pool 3 or something.
They might. I mean, they did change Shadow King. That is one thing.
That is true. Shadow King was very disappointing. I still feel like Dazzler and Shanna might not be too bad. I haven't really messed with the cards. Have you messed around with Shanna?
A lot. Yeah, I've played a lot of Shanna. Like these 2000 game scene might be all me. No, no, I've played a lot of Shanna. I put a Shanna in a like pretty successful deck actually, but like Shanna has this problem where there's some weird ordering on when the 1-drops come out. Like it'll like there's definitely some bugs where if a Iron Fist comes out, it'll shove Shanna over, but if a 0 comes out, it'll 0 your next card. Like it's just like there's some weird interactions that shouldn't happen the way that they do. Like and the 0 is probably the worst thing that you get out of Shanna unless you're doing it on the last turn kind of thing, because it's just like it completely nukes whatever next card you want to play. Like I feel like that's one of the worst drops. Like people think Ebony Maw is bad, but it's like Ebony Maw is actually not that bad to pull out of Shanna because it's like 7 power. It's a lot of power. So it's like it's usually good, but
Shanna should just like summon 2/2s in each lane, like squirrels, but big squirrels or something. I feel like that'd be thematic, and then she'd end up being a 4/8.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If something to make it a little bit more consistent, but yeah, I don't know if that would be if it was like 1/2s. You're saying like
like 1/2s, they can get buffed by Khazar because I think that's the whole point, right? Isn't she like she and Khazar they hang out?
But that can't be over the air, is the thing.
Right?
So
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
But they can make Shanna a 4/4, and it would just make it immediately more playable. 4/3 even. Yeah, like
that might be the way to go.
Or a 3 cost. Honestly, if she was a 3/2, oof, you know, I'd play that in a lot of decks.
And then you can follow her up with the Khazar, yeah. But I think the whole point was supposed to be Zabu is Khazar's pet, right? And then Shanna and Khazar are friends. They do things together. So then you play Zabu, and then you can Shanna Khazar on the last turn. I think that was their idea. So you discount them both to 3, you drop them both down. That's your power play on the final turn. But I
wasn't even playing
person do that.
Khazar in my Shanna list. It's too all in if you go all in on 1-drops of the thing. So it's like Shanna, I was just playing as like a good tempo card. It's just like it's not good enough to go all in on 1-drops in a Killmonger meta. It's just like it's too dangerous. You're overcommitting a lot of times.
Now I want to kind of play like a Sarah Miracle deck with Zabu, Sarah, Shanna, Khazar. I kind of want to mess around with that now. Have you done that?
I have not done that version, no. I was playing just like Shanna as a mini Doctor Doom in my decks, you know. It's just like, which it worked out pretty well, and until it griefed me a couple times. It griefs you for sure. That's the problem.
Okay, we're getting off topic though by talking about Shanna too much.
I mean, this is technically on topic.
Yeah,
that is true. OTA changes, like, but yeah, Shanna for sure. Yeah, but yeah, I do think a move card is my prediction.
I love movement decks. I hate that they suck, but I feel like if they just add one more like movement enabler card, like another sort of Iron Fist kind of
like Stegron.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, that's a kind of is that upcoming? That'll be
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So not this week, which is a card we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah,
And,
so Stegron might be fun.
Well, technically, the card this week is also a movement card in this sense, but
in a sense, actually, you're correct. Do you think? Well, we'll get to that later. But I'm worried about them changing the movement cards, and then releasing a new movement card, and then all the movement cards are busted, and then they have to nerf them. But I guess they're okay with nerfing them because the OTA, I think they said they want to do 1 to 2 nerfs and 1 to 2 buffs per week.
Wait, did they say nerfs and buffs? Is that
I believe so. I think they said they're gonna at least buff 1 card per week, and I think in that same coin it'd be 1 nerf per week. But also maybe I'm making things up. I don't really have a source for this pulled up.
I don't remember
at the
them
moment.
confirming nerfs, but that could be possible.
Maybe it was in my dreams.
It's always possible as well. Yeah, I wouldn't mind them. Like, I prefer a fluctuating meta over just like being safe and trying to make everything dead even and like a perfectly balanced meta. I'm fine with them like having some things become strong for a little bit as long as they're quicker with the changes. Like, I think like as long as things don't dominate for too long, like something can be dominating for a week and it can be somewhat fun. You know, it's like if something comes in.
I feel like this is a good segue into one of the topics we wanted to talk about, which was that this patch needs to land really well, this upcoming one here, because I think the meta's a little bit stale. I'm seeing a lot of players complain about leaving because all they're seeing is Galactus or Shuri, or I guess you're not seeing that.
Sandman. But no, it is like those three. They see Galactus, Sandman, and Shuri. Those are like the three. That's over half the meta basically right there. And it's just like, if that's everything you're running into, is it great? I don't know.
Yeah, so I think it's getting a bit stale for a lot of players. So we do have this patch coming up. We know Shuri's going to be touched in one way or another. We don't know how much. We're thinking it might be less than we had hoped. But the only thing I'm concerned about is if this fails, if this patch is the saving grace that everyone's looking forward to, and it flops, I don't think that's going to be very good for the future of Marvel Snap. But I have hope. I think it'll be pretty good. I think with Jeff coming out, all these OTA changes, I'm hoping the game feels fresh again here soon.
Yeah, I have a lot of hope for the OTA changes. I think that'll keep the game fresh, at least for me, like a more like, I don't know, hardcore player that plays a lot. I think you need some sort of freshness to it. I think that those are the main people complaining. I don't think many of the casual people that play the game like once or twice a week are complaining about a stale meta, you know. They're still complaining about like card acquisition. But I think, just the fact that we're going to get weekly changes is going to be really huge. Seeing the first real what they do is going to, like you said, it's going to be really important, like how this first one goes, how it lands. Like, is it actually going to do any sort of shakeup? If it's just the same thing again, where it's like we get like one day of people trying out Sentry, like if we get something like that, like where there's nothing really that's changing, I think that's going to put a bad taste in everyone's mouth about this, and they're not going to really have much to look forward to. Like, there was that one tweet where they were talking about like what to look forward to, like what was that tweet? Do you have that pulled up? Like, we're constantly looking for something to look forward to. So it's like releasing cards in bunches. So it's just like when we're talking about like a release schedule and just like what's coming out, like I think it's important to have something to look forward to, and like not only look forward to, but like have a constant feeling like I want to keep playing and have a fresh state. Where they basically said in this tweet that like their plan for like 1 card a week releases, and in the sense like weekly buffs and weekly nerfs at the same time, is like they want to have constantly something that someone's looking forward to. But if this patch is not enough, if they like don't go far enough with their nerfs and their buffs, and like we get another Snowguard, that card that comes out, I don't think that is something to look forward to. That would basically just show us that like, oh, we're gonna have this constant like flat line of like nothing changing, and just like a slow drip release of like nothing interesting or new. Like people complain about the Silver Surfers and the Zabu metas or whatever, but at least those shook things up for a bit, you know?
Yeah, I think the problem is here, and a lot of people have talked about this lately, is that with them releasing just one card a week, well, that's 52 cards a year, other card games release a lot more cards. And so if we're only releasing one a week, we need those cards to be impactful. We need them to not be boring cards that don't see play, like Ghost, like Snowguard. I'm sure there's other examples, but like if that's coming out in a week, like no one's excited about it. How many people got Snowguard for 6,000 tokens? I didn't. I know I was collection complete last week or whatever, but I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna buy Snowguard for 6,000 tokens. So people are thinking about, oh, maybe like batch implementations would be nice, like releasing 5, 10 plus cards, you know, every few months would be cool. And I agree. I think that would be something nice. But I really do want to see how these OTA changes go. I think these can be quite exciting. With other card games like Hearthstone, they release 150 cards in an expansion and only 10 see play. And they don't really buff the cards that don't see play. So with these OTA changes, with the change we saw to Wolverine, with the change we saw, like I think Sentry's a lot better now. It's like these can be really big, impactful changes, and they don't need to do these big dumps every week, or sorry, every few months, if they can just revitalize these quote unquote dead cards. You know, bring in Wolverine back. What's it like if they brought Strong Guy back and all of a sudden, you know, he was kind of meta, or they changed, I don't know, Orca to actually have his own, you know, archetype, because all of a sudden he's a 620, but your opponent just has an empty lane or something. Like, I think stuff like that can make the game feel fresh without them having to do these big dumps. And I think I prefer that approach over these big dumps, because you hate to see these cards just go to waste, you know? When someone designed them and they were excited about them at some point, Groot is pretty bad. Groot's pretty bad. But, you know,
people are playing him a little bit, you know, more than they were before. The buff actually didn't really buff him because it nerfed like the on reveal effect. So if you had double on reveal, it's not as good anymore. But yeah, but like Groot is not very good, but he's a really fun character. He's got, you know, a great flavor. So why can't they just make Groot better instead of giving a new card that no one's gonna play, you know? Make Groot great again.
Yeah. And then like Medusa. Medusa's another card where she doesn't see any play, but maybe if they just give her +1 to her power, like she'd be good. Would you rather Medusa get buffed, or would you rather have a new card that may also just end up like Medusa and not get played? So I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from. Yeah. So I'm okay with batches, but I feel like if they did batches, they would have to do small batches. Like, oh, here's 4 cards.
Well, I like, if you remember, actually, you probably don't remember because you started playing on global release. But I think whenever they initiated the Series 4 and Series 5, I think that was a really fun, fresh time for the game. Not because they introduced Series 4 and 5, but because of the influx of cards all at once. Like, I think the fact that they released, like, I don't know what it was, but it was like 20 cards all at once. It was really fun to get that influx of cards. And I don't think people are going to see that ever again if they don't change their model at some point where they give all these cards all at once. Like every Series 4 and 5 card I was able to get like pretty quickly. Not that quickly, but it would just like create this state of like, oh, like we have Thanos, we have Galactus, we have like all these new cards coming out. Like Darkhawk came out also like pretty soon after. It was just like a constantly shifting meta for like 2 months, and it felt really great and fun. And then it started to die down as the weekly release schedule started to become the norm, right? Yeah. So I do think the batches have their place, and maybe they do the weekly release schedule and batches. Like maybe it doesn't have to be either or, you know, maybe they can do like, because what if they want to do another whole archetype, like a whole new keyword, right? Are they going to just release one keyword at a time and just like slowly build up to being able to have a card or a new archetype? Or do they have to release like 4 or 5 all at once so that it is playable, right? Like you can't just have one card at a time for a whole new archetype.
Yeah, that's a good point for the keyword thing, or like making a new archetype. So yeah, I feel like in a situation like that, it'd kind of be necessary almost. You can't just slow drip a new archetype. I can't even think of a new one off the top of my head, but yeah, like
they're the game designers, not us, but
yeah, we just
I'm sure they have to have something under the hood, like ready to go, like a new archetype. I feel like they're not going to just like, it's just ongoing on reveal, like, and all that forever, right? Like they got to have something else.
Yeah. One thing talking about these batch changes is the series drop. Series drop happened. I think we didn't talk about this last time. So we got some cards that are pretty good going down from series 5 to 4 and 4 to 3. I think the 4 to 3 is more exciting. We have Shuri, Black Panther, Bast, Super Skrull, and Valkyrie all dropping down to Series 3 or Pool 3. And most of those cards are really good. Especially, Shuri
all
right
but
now.
one is playable. And then Black Panther is playable, but not that good. But yeah. Shuri, Bast, and Valkyrie, insane cards.
I think Bast is absolutely cracked. One of my favorite cards right now. Valkyrie, also fantastic.
Yeah. And obviously Shuri, the MVP of the last couple months,
Yeah, but we'll see what happens to Shuri here. Maybe she's still worth the pickup and maybe she's not. It'll really depend on how the patch goes. But Series 5 to Series 4, we have Stature, MODOK, and Ghost all dropping down to Series 4. I think MODOK and Stature are interesting. Ghost still not too good. Maybe good in the future. But Stature decks aren't too bad. I think you love Stature, right?
I was a Stature hater when it first came out because I actually didn't understand how it worked. I thought it was like Miles Morales, where you had to do it the previous turn. I didn't realize it was if your opponent discards a card at any point during the game, it's one for the rest of the game, which is just actually really, really, really good. I think Stature is like it's what it doesn't become a 1-drop, so it's not susceptible to like Killmonger. It's just like and it keeps its discount with things like Wave. So it's just like overall, it's just like there's a lot of Stature play that could be out there. I think Stature is one of the most underutilized cards. It's also just like hasn't been accessible because it's been Series 5. When they go into 4, I expect to see a lot more Stature coming out. I think that out of those 3 cards for sure is going to be one that I'm going to recommend people like pick up in Series 4.
Yeah, I remember when Shuri was Series 5 and I felt like she was cracked and no one was complaining about her yet. And as soon as she went to Series 4 and more people could get their hands on her, they were like, oh wow, like she's cracked, and now everyone complains about her, right? But back in the day, it's hard for people to get those Series 5 cards. People do pick up the big bads like Galactus and Thanos, and they find out, they're good or whatever. But for the cards like Stature, which a lot of people probably didn't pick up, could be interesting.
Yep, for sure. But yeah, like you said, Ghost, I think that's just a future potential card. I bought it when it came out as a future thing, but maybe now looking back, I probably shouldn't have done that because I didn't really play it at all.
We'll get that first edition badge.
Yeah, someday.
Okay, so one thing we wanted to quickly touch on was Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde has not been fixed yet, and I still haven't gotten to play her. I did buy her for 6,000 collector's tokens and have not been able to mess around with her. You loved her though, but then she broke. She broke the game. But we kind of have some news here. Someone asked if they could get an update on Kitty Pryde. And Steven said, we will make an announcement about Kitty next week. And that was on the 15th. Oh my God, wait, that was this morning at the time of recording this. That
was 2 days ago if you're listening to this now. Hot off the presses. So that does mean that it'll probably be tomorrow for you guys when they make this announcement. I would assume they make an announcement on the day of the patch, because the patch was when we were originally expecting to get Kitty Pryde re-added, but this, like what Steven's saying here, makes it sound like it's the announcement. Like that wording doesn't make it sound like we're getting Kitty Pryde re-enabled, because like wouldn't they make an announcement like, I don't know, today being like it's coming back on Tuesday if they were able to fix it and get it in for the patch? Like it sounds like they didn't have enough time to put all the fixes into the actual patch. So I'm hoping, my hope is the announcement is going to be they're going to do a off schedule patch to put Kitty Pryde back in, so we don't have to wait a whole another month to get Kitty Pryde, but we'll have to see. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the wording of this is very interesting. We'll make an announcement about Kitty next week, making it sound like she's not going to be available next week, that they're just going to talk about her. So I'm curious to see what they say, but I don't think I'll be able to play with Kitty in a couple days, which makes me a little bit sad.
Yeah, but at least you have your own cat at home.
Yeah, he was just meowing. I had to go open the door. He was yelling. He wanted to come in.
Yeah. For some of us who don't have Kitty at home, we have to just. It sucks, I had a lot of fun with Kitty Pryde, honestly. It was one of the best new cards, I think, like from a fun standpoint with cards coming out. So I'm hoping it gets added.
She had a new mechanic, right? Which was like you got to choose if you wanted to put her back in your hand or something.
Yeah, it's new-ish. Like it is definitely like you can pull it back to your hand, which is kind of new, but it feels like the mechanic itself is just like if you played out a card on the same turn and you pull it back to your hand, it kind of feels just like reordering your cards. So it doesn't feel like that new, like from a actual like dragging and whatever. It's not like a whole new system data implements in the game. It doesn't seem like. It just feels like you've played her out this turn and you're playing her again, but you hadn't played her out this turn is the difference, right?
Well, apparently she broke the game more than we could have imagined. So hopefully she's playable soon. Doesn't sound like she will be this patch based on what Steven has said here. But maybe he's just being cheeky and she will be available tomorrow. Maybe we can be optimistic, but
All right. Well, we can all cope in our own ways, but I do think there is a chance that it is like the announcement is like she's being re-added with these caveats. Like maybe the announcement is like this is what we're doing for compensation. Like maybe that's what he's talking about, not like when it's getting re-added. So we'll see.
Yeah,
it might be she's getting re-added and then they're doing compensation in the future. Like that might just be like the wording. Like we don't know. So. We can hope, but who knows?
Should we talk about last week's card here?
Oh, I mean, we did talk about last week's card a little bit last week when we were talking about what's gonna come out, and I think it met our expectations, of being really bad.
Yeah, we were speculating Snowguard to not be too impactful, and I personally did not pick up Snowguard because I think it's not worth 6,000 collector's tokens. Kind of reminds me of Ghost Round 2. I will wait for this to drop, I think, unless I get impatient. But not a lot of Snowguard action. She has not seen much play. Let me actually look at her stats from the little stats that we do have. We have her...
From 140 games.
1,461 games total.
Oh, is that 1,000? All right, I gotta make this bigger. Okay, sorry, 1,400 games.
Win percentage, 49.14% with the average cube of 0.004. I mean, not as bad as I had anticipated, honestly. But I still don't think the card is worth the pickup here. You picked her up, right?
I did not. It's one of the first cards I haven't picked up in a while because it just looked so bad for me and not that interesting because like I watched a couple people play it and I had full expectations of it not working on any real location because of what they had said before. And it sounded like some people had expected it to work more than it had, which sucks for them because they picked up the card. But yeah, it's just like there's so few locations that it interacts with that just most games it's a dead card. It's just a 1/2. It's just like why would you put a 1/2 in your deck that's like does nothing? It's like worse than Misty Knight because Misty Knight at least like combos with like Patron in your deck or something. It's just like there's not really much you're gonna do with this card most of the time, and it's way too narrow of a use case. I think it might be useful in some like hot location times, and that's like if it's a hot location card. It's just like there's nothing else to it.
I think that's pretty much it. Randomly generating this card might be nice through like Maria Hill or something, but other than that, I don't think you're ever gonna play Snowguard in an actual deck. The change I would like to see made, I don't think is possible and will probably never happen, but I would like it to be more like a choose one card from Hearthstone, where you get to choose when you play Snowguard if you want it to be a hawk or a bear instead of waiting turn after turn, because that makes it just incredibly awkward to get out of your hand. But don't want to talk too much about Snowguard because I think it's a boring card. Let's talk about next week's card, which is going to be Jeff the Baby Landshark, which I think personally is one of the most exciting cards that has come out since Hitmonkey. Which was 2 weeks
since
ago.
Hitmonkey. Yeah, I mean it's definitely the most exciting card since Hitmonkey, but I know I've seen a lot of hope for this card and we were looking forward to it, and they like swapped around our expectations and released Snowguard instead of Jeff last week. But I wanted to save this hot take because I gave this hot take on my stream like 2 weeks ago. I don't think Jeff is going to be as good as everyone's hoping him to be.
Let's talk about it for the people who don't have visuals. Jeff, the Baby Landshark, So baby, he's a little shark. He's a 2 energy, 3 power card. And you can move him once, kind of like Nightcrawler, and then nothing can stop you from moving or playing this to any location. That means you can play him in locations that are locked down by X. You can play him in Sanctum Sanctorium. You can play him in Death's Domain, Plunder Castle, Miniaturized Lab. Well, he's gonna die, right?
Yeah, you can move him into Death's Domain.
You can move him into Death's Domain. Yeah, you can't play him in there. Miniaturized Lab, you can add him in there because it says no cards can be added here, but Jeff doesn't care. And then also Avengers Compound, I guess you can play him. You can
not play him there.
Yeah, you can play him not in Avengers Compound. I think he's looking like a fairly flexible card. I think the power is not really high at a 2/3, but because of his flexibility, why would you not play him over something like, I don't know, a Colossus or a Shocker? I don't know. So his stats aren't great, but you don't like him. Let's hear what you have to say.
So my take, a lot of people seem to be like, oh, Jeff's so good, whatever, he's going to be playing. Like, it's good in like maybe like a Stormish meta sometimes, but there's just better cards, I think, that get into those locations. Like, it is pretty much these like 3 locations. It's Sanctum Sanctorum, Miniaturized Lab, which opens back up, maybe like one of the other like the Vault kind of locations that aren't here. But also, and then Professor X. So if Professor X ever becomes too dominant, maybe Jeff becomes better. But it's like there are better ways to stick value into those things than just having a 2-cost, 3-power card, I think. That's my take, is I think it is not enough power for the cost to warrant the added ability of playing it wherever you want. Because there are cards, like Doctor Doom is just better most of the time for all of these locations. Like, you're not going to play Doctor Doom and Jeff, right, on the final turn. And it's just like you're playing Jeff out earlier doesn't really help your game plan a lot because you're generally able to just play out more stuff, more power with different cards. That's it's just a slightly bigger Nightcrawler in my mind for most cases. You're not going to be locked out of many locations for Jeff.
You know what Nightcrawler is great in is Cerebro 2. And Jeff will be great in Cerebro 3.
Jeff will be very good in Cerebro 3. So I think, and by very good, it's it is a Nightcrawler for Cerebro 3. Yeah. So I think that is a good consideration. So I think that might be Jeff's best deck. And that says something to Jeff where people are hoping he's just a staple card in some way. He's not going to shake up the meta, I don't think. That's basically my take, is he's not going to be an auto include in anything except for maybe Cerebro 3.
Yeah, I think he'll be a fun card to mess around with. I'll be picking him up. Are you not going to pick him up then?
Oh, I'm picking him up for sure. Even though I have I think it'll be a fun card to mess around with, exactly as you point out. But I don't think it'll be a top competitive card.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to try him out in Cerebro 3, or maybe just some lockdown decks where you play Professor X and you just throw him in there. Some people, just hit your Professor X lane with a Claw or with a Fantastic or with a Spectrum, but instead you could just throw Jeff in there, which I mean, it doesn't do too much, but I'm still excited to mess around with Jeff, and maybe he'll be better in some locations. Maybe you'll see more Sanctum than you might think, or some Plunder than you might think, and he ends up being cheeky there. Because Doom you have to play on turn 6, but Jeff, you can play whenever you want, except turn 1.
Wherever you want.
Wherever you want, wherever and whenever,
all at once. But yeah, I think Jeff, he is going to be fun, so I'm going to pick him up just for that point alone. It's just, I think, like you said, lockdown decks, they'll be fun. I actually don't think it'll be optimal in lockdown decks because you pointed out to 5 better cards you could play. There's a card coming out way in the future that I think will be really fun for lockdown decks called Miss Marvel. I don't know if it'll stay the same, but it's been data mined. This card is basically a bigger Mr. Fantastic.
Miss Marvel is a 3/4 with the ongoing, if this is your only card here, adjacent locations have +5 power. Yeah, so Mr.
It's a claw
Mr.
both
Fantastic.
ways.
Yeah,
but it's just but it does have a pretty hard condition to fill of being your only card in the lane. Ooh. I was saying claw and lane at the same time, but yeah. It's it's definitely, when this card comes out, I think it'll be interesting. But we have no idea when this is coming out. So if it's coming out, it might change completely because they do this with cards that are just data mined. Like they completely change sometimes before they come out.
This even has all these variants prepared for it. It looks like a thought out card that'll probably be implemented.
It'll be a card. Miss Marvel will come out, but we don't know what the ability or stats will be necessarily.
Okay, so we have an upcoming mode, which maybe, makes Snap a little bit more fun for some people. We got Conquest Mode coming up. What do we know about Conquest Mode, Dara?
So I think they've said it's coming in June, hopefully, and it is a mode not unsimilar to Hearthstone Arena, but one of the biggest things that's not like Hearthstone Arena is it's not drafting. So if you guys don't know about Hearthstone Arena, basically you'll queue into this is gonna be a conquest, so you queue into a match that if you lose a certain number of times, I think it's 3 times, you're out, and or maybe it's once. It might be lose once. I think this might be a little bit different. In Hearthstone, it was you lose 3 times, you're out of the arena. In this one, in Conquest, you lose once, you're out. I'm actually not sure, but I think it is once. I think you have to win 3 times to win your conquest, is what they're going to call them, I guess. And in Conquest Mode, it's a little bit different than Hearthstone Arena in that there are going to be different leagues. So you get a free ticket to the bottom league. So you can queue up into the bottom league, and if you win out that conquest, I think it's 3 wins, you end up getting a ticket to the next league. You get a ticket, 1 free ticket to go to the higher league, and you can then win that league and move up to the higher league. And I think there's 4 or 5 leagues, so you can go all the way up to the highest league, and you get rewards in each one that you get in addition to that ticket. So you queue into the free one, you get some rewards. If you win the next one, you get some rewards. And rewards get better and better the higher the league you go, and the harder the competition will be because you get better and better people as you go up. And I don't know if they've confirmed this or not, but I think that they're like, it sounds like, since the way they say it's like you can start at the bottom for free, I'm assuming that you can pay money to just start in the higher leagues potentially, like buy a ticket to the higher leagues, but I don't think that's confirmed anywhere. So we'll have to see what happens to that. But if that's the case,
I think you just buy a ticket to your current league. And you have to.
I don't think you get placed in a league. I think you start in
proving grounds. So
but I think you start back over every time the ticket. They've confirmed on Discord questions or whatever that you consume your ticket when you move up a league. So that means that you can't just go back to a higher league when you're out of tickets for that higher league. Okay. So you have to go back down to the bottom league unless you have a ticket from another way through like purchasing it or something.
Yeah.
Oh, they do say the leagues right there. How many are that? Proving Grounds, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Vibranium, Infinite. All right.
This kind of reminds me of Brawliseum from Hearthstone.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, if you remember that. It was essentially Arena, but you chose a deck to bring in. And once you brought in that deck, you were locked into that deck. And you had to see how good you would do against your opponents. And then you would get rewards based on your performance, which is kind of what this seems to be. But you're going to start with, start at the bottom, work your way up from Proving Grounds to Bronze, Silver, Gold, Vibranium, and then to Infinite. And it kind of just gives you an extra thing to do aside from playing ladder and hitting Infinite there, especially because that's a lot quicker now, a lot easier now that they've added additional ranks. A lot of people are hitting Infinite, and then they're like, okay, what do I do for the rest of the month? So now we're going to have Conquest, which I believe will be a permanent mode. And I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be really good content as well for like YouTube.
Always got that content brain on. Yeah, no, I think people will enjoy watching it more so. Like I have noticed that people don't seem to enjoy watching just like one-off like battle mode matches. This is going to be battle mode matches, just so anyone who didn't know that. Conquest is all battle mode. But here's the thing, with this battle mode, it'll be like match-made battle mode matches. So it's a little bit more interesting in the sense that like you're going to be going up against a random person and you have to prove yourself against that person, and they'll be harder and harder competition that goes up. So it's going to be like you and I, we both like doing these like gauntlets, these competitions, like these challenges. This is basically like a built-in challenge into the game, just like how high can you climb in these from Proving Grounds to Bronze to Silver? Like how good can you get? Can you get a win all the way in Infinite from Proving Grounds, if you're going to start at the bottom?
I'm gonna.
I think that'll be hard.
I'm gonna have to make a new Cerebro challenge implementing Conquest Mode.
Oh man, a Cerebro to Infinite, that would be tough. But yeah, I think that'll be really hard. Yeah. I think it'll be very few decks will make it. Like, I don't know if you have to queue up. I actually don't think you have to queue up the same deck within each league. So I think you would.
I think it's maybe just per ticket, maybe.
Deck. Yeah, I think it's per ticket. So I think once you move up a league, you can choose a different deck. Because I think the tickets are kind of like flexible in that you can hold on to it for a while and then queue up later if you want.
Yeah. But yeah, this should be a really fun game mode. I'm excited for this. I still want them to implement a draft mode.
Oh, like, man, yeah.
Maybe this is like a stepping stone. Because I mean, if you go into, if you go in here, it's game modes. It's not friendly battle mode. It's game modes. And then you can see friendly battle, and you can tell that maybe you're going to be able to cycle through this. So you can do friendly battle, you can do conquest, you can do draft battle. That'd be nice.
Yeah, so my take on draft is I think they're holding off on draft for a while. And I think the main reason for that is monetization. Because draft in general will reduce the need for your collection, because I don't think you can have a very good draft mode that is based on your own collection. So I think they would have to implement a similar ticket-like system where you have to pay to play it so that there is no incentive to just grind it for free, right? And then your collection doesn't matter. And that's their main purpose behind this game. They've said this multiple times, is the collecting part of the game, not anything else, not the actual game itself. So if you implement the draft mode, it devalues the collection. And I think they're going to hold off for a while. And I think that sucks because I think draft could be one of the more interesting modes they could add.
Until then, we'll have to keep doing it through a website.
Yep. And without official matchmaking or anything for it. Because it'd be so fun to do it in Conquest Mode. Like, just if they had Conquest Mode just be draft mode, it would have been the perfect announcement. You know, everyone would have been so excited, I feel like.
Yeah, I know when Hearthstone first came out, Arena was the most popular game mode. It's kind of what I feel like, but Hearthstone on the map.
It was the most popular streamed game mode, but it was not the most popular game mode.
I guess you know more.
Yeah. But, you know, it was way more popular at the start, and it slowly fell off for sure.
It's good content.
Yeah. It was definitely good content. And it's better. That's why I think Conquest will be better for content. I think Conquest will be played more so by content creators than by the general population, will be my prediction.
Yeah, especially if you have to pay to enter. Yeah, so that's about it for this podcast. Next week, we will be talking about Stegron. And also, you know, and hopefully this patch meets our expectations, because we'll definitely be talking about if it did or not.
Yeah. We'll definitely be able to at least see how the first real buffs went, because I don't know if we count the Shadow King and whatever buffs, like this first over-the-air kind of implementation. So I think that'll be good to really get a sense of next week. So look out for that. And, you know, maybe we'll have some other cool topics that you guys don't know about yet, you know?
Yeah, and if there are any topics you guys really want us to talk about, like, let us know in the comments. If you're watching the YouTube video, if you're listening to this in podcast form,
tweet at us.
Tweet at us. Yeah, tweet at us, sure.
Yeah.
And be sure to tell your friends and family about the podcast. Tell mom and dad, and they can all listen. That's it. That's all I got. Pump the numbers up.
Pump
up those numbers. All right.
Please.
Thanks for listening.